guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go with this pretty good email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, he is 48 years old, and he shares his story, how he went from the stereotypical nice guy in his youth, who was taken advantage by women and all that, and not respected, to a guy decades later who is a strong leader, masculine guy, great father, great husband, who is very much loved and cherished by his wife, as well as his kids, and has a great family. And I thought I'd going to go over here, guys, to show you that you can start off in a certain way in life, like, let's be honest, many of us did, learn reality, how things really are, and then change things around and have things on a path you want. Because this guy's obviously a relationship guy, wanted a family and all that. And you're going to see that if he didn't change his ways, he wouldn't be where he is today. And oftentimes, it's amazing how a guy can have a great realization and turn things around, and his life goes off in a completely different path. But you also see how it takes some heartache and some suffering to learn reality, as it happened to a lot of guys. And in this situation with an ex-girlfriend. And finally, you're going to find out and see where that ex-girlfriend is today. And I'm sure you guys can all imagine that. So it's a good one. It's a nice success story with a happy ending that for you. This one isn't particularly good for you relationship guys who really want to improve things upon yourself so you can have the kind of relationship that you want and marriage and kids and all. For those of you that want to do it, of course, you know, they ain't all of you, but that'd be very useful for today. He says, Dear SSM, where were you when I was in my formative years? Oh yeah, the internet did not exist back then. Yeah, I was just like you, clueless, and I had to learn the hard way too. But we managed to survive, and we have prospered. I heard you say that you'd like to hear more positive stories of where things work out well. Well, at age 48 years old, I'm proud to say that I have one of those stories. But it certainly would have been a lot easier if I had a content like yours to listen to. Well, Sarah, I'm glad you sent in a story with a good ending. I like those stories where things work out for guys. Let me tell you my story. I grew up in a conservative, traditional household. Dad worked his tail off in the defense industry, doing the kind of nasty, dangerous jobs that no one except the most crazy or work-starved men would take. Mom stayed at home with us 3 kids, except on the few occasions where money got tight, and she had to take a part-time job to help put food on the table. Well, that's great that your mom was willing to do that. A lot of wives would have left their husbands if it got to that point. My dad was orphaned at an early age and had no serious male role models. Yet, he managed to be a fantastic father to all of us and a loving husband to my mom. They just celebrated their 50th anniversary not that long ago. Well, congratulations. They're the ones that worked out, and obviously you know darn well that they loved each other all those years and they were good to each other. Good. But in their well-intentioned efforts to keep any conflict in their marriage away from us kids, I never saw my father lay down the law, as you often say. If things got tense between the two of them, they'd tell us kids to go play outside. When we came back inside, there was no signs of argument. Well, I'm all for that. Don't need to wrap the kids up in the drama. However, if one parent is being an a-hole, certainly they have the right to check them, even if the kids are right there. And frankly, it is actually in the interest of the kids, as we know long term, to see a man stand up to his wife if she's being bitchy. Or if the guy's being a total a-hole to his wife, and guess what? It can happen, guys. And it is warranted for her to stand up for herself to do that too, you know? And then resolve the issues and, you know. But when a young guy doesn't see if a young guy, in this situation it's different, but if a young guy sees his father always being bossed around by mom, or mom running the show, what do you think he's gonna grow up just like his dad? I guess that's why I spent most of my high school and college years as what today's kids would call a simp. I truly believe that not only were women equal in value, they were equal in their wants and needs. Well, how did that mindset and being the simp back in high school before that term existed, how'd that work out for you back then? Pretty much as well as it worked out for me back then. And that if you wanted to keep a woman, that you treated her with kid gloves. I thought that the more I piled on the affection and praise, the more I was likely to keep her. Again, how did that work out for you? Yeah. So many of us did the same thing because we didn't know any better, including me. I told you guys I was the nice guy type back then. What can I say? There are some things that a man simply must learn from experience. When I went off to college in the 1990s, I took that same attitude with me and spent a lot of time doing the pick-me dance sort of things when I would approach a co-ed. Eventually, I met my first serious girlfriend. I will call her Brenda to protect her identity. We met through a mutual friend, and from our first date playing pool, it was amazing. Well, Usually things do go well in the beginning until people's true colors come out. Brenda liked taking risks, and she enjoyed romance. And being the simp that I was, I poured it on as much as I could. Smack! And where'd that get you? And for a while, it did work. Brenda came from a broken home and was thrilled to have someone with her who respected her and wasn't abusive and treated her like she had value. Yeah, probably because she's probably spent her whole early years with guys that treated her exactly the way she thought about herself, like crap. Finally, she's like, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to go for a guy that's the opposite and see how that works out. And a lot of times, guys, it's right place, right time, where that girl decides she's going to try a different type of guy. And so that nice guy may get a chance temporarily, but eventually they start being turned off by the nice guy because nice guys are too nice, or they start thinking, this is too perfect. This is too good to be true. I'm garbage inside because the girl believes she's garbage, and she fucks it all up and goes for the guy who treats her like crap. And that nice guy gets his heart broken. I'm sure many of you guys can see where I'm going with that. The relationship was great, and I've never written this down before. She had a body that would not quit, and the sex was amazing. Brenda knew things in her early 20s that I think most women never learn their entire lives. Holy shit. Well, where do you think she learned all that from? But you were reaping the benefits back then. Obviously you wore protection and didn't catch anything. And so everything is great, right? After a few months of trips, dinners, meeting parents, and lots of more adult fun, we had a pregnancy scare. Whew, nothing like that. That happened to me when I was 20 years old. It was the worst week of my fucking life. I might not have learned the particulars of relationships early, but I did know enough to wrap it up every single time we had sex. I brought my own and disposed of it. See, I was dumb, but not that dumb. Well, thank God for that. Remember, gentlemen, if you're new, don't buy the I'm on the pill song and dance. A lot of gals, when they're ready, they want a baby trapper guy. I can think of 4 or 5 different guys that I knew that when their girls were in their early to mid-30s and they were ready to have families, magically they suddenly got pregnant, even though they were all on the pill. All these guys, except for one, married the girl. And guess what? These weren't exactly the most wonderful marriages afterwards. When they want you, don't buy it. Always provide your protection because she could poke holes in it. Always wear it, of course, no matter how good it feels without it. And get rid of it. And make sure you see it disposed of. Some gals will dig to the trash can and, insert the love juice down south. I don't need to elaborate here to get pregnant. Yes, it happens. I've done stories on this. Again, this is for people that are new. Brenda got her period 2 days after she took the pregnancy test, but that changed things. In hindsight, I can now see she was spending a great deal of time when we were apart. Our class schedules conflicted some evenings with other guys. She was worried that she would wind up stuck with me. There you go. Spending her time with other guys, worried about end up being stuck with you. About that time, my mother was admitted to the hospital for what was supposed to be a minor surgery for her hearing. In the OR, surgeons discovered a life-threatening tumor on her brain the size of a lemon. Holy shit. Had it not been removed, she could have literally fallen over dead at any time. They saved her life, but she had to learn how to breathe, drink, eat, and walk again. Oh my God. Needless to say, she spent the better part of the year in the hospital. He says, spoiler, she made a full recovery and is in great health these days. Well, thank God for that. The hospital was close to campus, so I spent as much time over there as I could. Brandon and I did not see much of each other, but we talked. Recall, this is the early 90s. Boredom was an issue. I called her first generation cell phone. That is important. A lot from the payphone in the hallway hospital. Yeah, for the younger crowd, imagine a world where there weren't cell phones. I mean, okay, fine. You had like the Gordon Gekko giant cell phone in like the late 1980s, or the Zach Morris phone from the fucking Saved by the Bell. You'll know. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Guarantee it more than you want to admit. Watch Saved by the Bell in the early 90s. I did. Okay, I'm not gonna deny it. It was amusing. But you remember the Zach Morris cell phone that was like the size of a freaking shoebox? Okay, but basically most people did not have cell phones back then, and if they did, they were shit. I'm gonna get shit for the Saved by the Bell reference, but I guarantee you there's a lot of closet Saved by the Bell fans that watched it in the 90s. Shit, some of you may watch it now. Anyway, the late nights at Mom's bedside in the brain injury ward were rough, with no phones, no internet, and no TV. I brought a portable radio scanner with me to listen to on the headphones. A late night listening to the local cops playing trailer park referee was always good for some drama. But then one evening, I heard a familiar voice on the scanner. It was Brenda. Recall that 90s cell phones could be picked up on those. To my horror, I heard Brenda talking to a friend, running me down. I was needy, she said. The early fun was over, and I wasn't exciting anymore. Nothing was left unsaid. From the clothes I wore to the size of my package, none of it was good enough anymore. Oh my God. Well, not that I'm surprised here, because it clearly, as you described her, she was obviously from the wrong side of the tracks, had a tough childhood, and I'm guaranteed you were that guy. She's going to be like, you know what, I'm going to go for a different type of guy because I'm tired of being treated like crap. And real quick, in her mind, you were boring and predictable. And when a woman gets to the point that she's sick of a guy, anything he does will get on her nerves and she'll bitch about, as in right here. And I'm sure that hurt. Also, the worst time in your life that you nearly lost your mom. Things like that tend to happen. I had no idea how to process what I had heard. Fortunately, I didn't have to think long about it. Next time I called her, she cut me off and said she was leaving me. Just like that. Just like that, and you were great to her. And let me guess, she went back to guys that treat her like dog crap. That was the end. I spent quite a bit of time sitting at my mom's bedside wondering what had gone wrong. Now, a smarter man would have put two and two together and changed the way we handle the situation, or the way he had handled the situation. But I am a notoriously slow learner. Well, let's be honest here. Most guys in this department are slow learners. Most guys are so pig-headed that they want to believe that they're right, everybody else is wrong. This is why I smack guys, both verbally and physically, because you gotta be tough. You gotta be smacking sense into guys because we're a bunch of knuckleheads. Let's be honest here. Yeah, she was the wrong gal, and you were too nice, and all those things, clearly. So fast forward a few years, and I met a wonderful gal whom I'll call Debbie. Debbie was something else entirely. After meeting through another mutual friend, we had a couple of lackluster dates. It was only after we learned that she had the same low opinion of our mutual friend, long story, that we really hit it off. Mutual friend, huh? Debbie was a challenge. She ran with a group of hardcore feminists on campus. Smack! What the hell were you doing getting involved dating a gal who ran and hung out with a bunch of hardcore feminists on campus? A bunch of 90s feminists. I can only imagine that group. Can you imagine? I picture them all hanging out together with all of them have different colored hair and tattoos on their arms, and you walk into a room with them. It's like walking into that bar in Star Wars. That's how weird they all look, All you need is that famous music from the Mos Eisley Cantina hearing them going on. Really? An feminist? Well, I know how the story goes. They like to protest the patriarchy and such things. I would later learn that she was the only straight gal in the entire bunch. I've always speculated that a lot of these really hardcore types, it isn't just that they're upset with their beef with guys. They actually are turned off. There's no attraction for guys. They like gals. And I got no problem with people with different orientations, but I've always speculated this. Clearly, it's right here. They probably wanted to get your girl. They want to get in her panties. But the more we talked, the more we got to like each other. And once again, the SCX was mind-blowing. With an feminist. While she was an avowed feminist, she was also very appreciative of a guy who could lift heavy things, fix cars, and was willing to go the extra mile for her. Sounds to me that she isn't as feminist as you thought she was. It's kind of like, you ever see that movie PCU from the early 90s? With I can't think of his name. It's a hilarious movie. David Spade's in there, and there's this pretty gal who hangs out with the wominists. Like they make fun of it. PCU, politically correct university. Jeremy Piven's is the star of that, and on the university there's all these stupid groups that have stereotypes, and there's the womenist group, and they protest everything. And there's really pretty girls, the ex-girlfriend of the Jeremy Piven, and she doesn't look like an feminist at all, but she still hangs out with them because she's kind of like in a transitionary period in her life. That's what I'm picturing here. The SCX was mind-blowing, blah, blah, blah. While she was an avowed feminist, she had very appreciative for a guy who could lift shit, blah, blah, blah. I read that part. 2 years later, we were married. You got married just 2 years after you started dating the feminist who appreciated you could lift heavy shit. Smack! Clearly your nice guy ways hadn't learned anything from relationship number 1. What was the rush? You know, there's no fucking rush, but this guy saw his picture perfect mom and dad, so I went the same thing. Crazy. We shared a small apartment, we both worked on our careers, and like clockwork, the fire started to die. Shocker. She wasn't happy with me, the bedroom went cold, and we were on the road to divorce. Was it infidelity? No. There was literally not enough time for either of us to be unfaithful. That is incredibly naive, my friend. There's always time for a quickie. I don't care what anybody fucking says. Now, I'm certainly hoping that your view of this, the past, is accurate, but there's always time for someone to cheat. I was working late in the office one night when I had a realization the problem wasn't her, the problem was me. Praise the Lord. Good for you. Most guys would never do that. I tried to look at the situation through her eyes, and I realized that I had been sold a bill of goods by our culture. Women did not want what they said they wanted in a relationship. They wanted someone to lead, someone to take charge, and set the course. They wanted someone who would project strength. In other words, my friend, they want a fucking man. A traditional, old-school man. But you don't have to be a dick. Right there. And guess what? Watch what happens when he starts behaving in that manner. For too many years and too many relationships, I had been more passive, acting out of what I thought was respect for women and what they wanted. I could not have been more wrong. Guys, my entire life, I have learned after an entire life, whatever they say, pretty much do the opposite. About a month after that realization, I was at home waiting for Debbie to come home from her night shift. My phone rang, and it was the local emergency room. Debbie had been in a serious car accident. A drunk driver crossed the median, went airborne, and landed on top of her car at 70 miles per hour. Holy shit. I mean, how she wasn't smushed into Play-Doh, I don't know how that could happen. When I got to the hospital, I rushed back to her bed in the ER. I took a minute, composed myself. This was the time to show strength. I pulled back the curtain, smiled, and calmly asked, "Are you okay, sweetie?" No tears, no panic, just calm strength. No matter what I felt, I was going to be a rock. She was panicked and said she was so sorry about the car. I said that doesn't matter, that's why we have insurance. What matters is that you're okay, and I smiled. That was a turning point. There you go, guys. Right there. He didn't know what to expect when he pulled that whoosh, hospital curtain over. Now, obviously, he would have been informed if it was really bad, but the point is, yes, calm, easygoing, having it together. You can be panicking inside, but you got to be stoic on the outside. That's what they want. Because if you can't be that way, then they're going to be that way. And guess what, guys? No masculine heterosexual male is attracted to a woman who behaves like a dude. The strong masculine alpha gal. That's a fucking turnoff. She was very blessed, only a broken rib and cuts from broken glass. From that point forward, I acted from strength. The simp was gone. I was going to be the strong one, lead our marriage and be the man she wanted, not the one that she said she wanted. And everything in our lives got better. How about that? Imagine that. There you go, guys. I still can't believe you dated and married an Feminist. Well, looks like, again, like the comparison to that movie PCU, she wasn't as much as maybe she's just going through a bad time. Who knows? And join that group of assholes. I don't know. Fast forward in the future, nearly 25 years of marriage later, we're both as happy as we've ever been. Wonderful, man. My former hardcore Feminist Debbie is now a stay-at-home mom to 3 kids, one of whom is in college and another on his way to the armed forces. Our youngest is on his way to middle school. Congratulations, Dad. You guys did a good job. And I'm going to guess ever since then, she has been sweet and affectionate and nurturing and feminine and all that. Feminine, not feminist. Debbie has been by my side faithfully, helping me get my career to places I hadn't even thought possible. I'm bringing in more than 6 figures, and she has the house of her dreams. Around our kids, we're a team. Each one of the role that highlights their strengths, provide for her, and she makes her house a home. And when we unload the kids, well, things are still as mind-blowing in the bedroom, minus 25 years of aging, as they were when we first met. That's awesome, man. Right there. Because you decided to act like a fucking man. And notice that she's been a stay-at-home mom. That goes against the whole feminist doctrine. I love my wife and she loves me. I could not be happier. And you know what? She obviously shows it through her actions. Which brings me back to Brenda. We can't forget the gal that began his learning process and kicked him to the curb. Brenda dropped off the radar after I graduated. It wasn't long ago that I saw her on social media, and curiosity got the best of me. Now in her mid-40s, she's been through at least one failed marriage, bounces around from state to state, and frequently posts about how a woman can be completely fulfilled by being both single and having no children. Sure, she's miserable. She owns multiple cats and posts lots of memes about how wonderful it is to be sassy, bullet dodged. Well, I hope she's good to the cats, because there's a lot of good dogs and cats out there that need a good home. I guess the moral of the story here is that even if you begin your journey as a simp, it's never too late to step up and be the man that you know you can be, not the man you think your woman wants. When you're strong, you attract a woman. You don't have to pursue. Regardless, I hope you and your subscribers find this interesting and maybe a bit informative. I would have wasted a lot less time if someone had told me these things earlier. Yeah, but if someone told you these things earlier, would you really have applied the knowledge? Would you really believed it? Probably not. I think you had to go through the hurt, the pain, the suffering, the humiliation to let it really sink in. I'm hoping through these stories that the guys that listen to me regularly can hear this over and over and over again, that will sink in, and they won't have to go through what so many of us, like you and me, went through to have these realizations and change our ways. But congratulations, man. I'm glad you have had a long, happy marriage. I'm sure there's been ups and downs, regardless of what you said, but what 25-year relationship is not going to have disagreements and life's challenges and all that, but that's great. And I like it. The feminist became the stay-at-home mom, and she's great to your kids and all that. And obviously she was not like those types. For whatever reason, she got in with them, and clearly, that wasn't what she was having. Obviously a bad year. But I would have run for the hills. But then again, hey, it worked out. But it goes to show, even by acting like a fucking man and being strong, he said things were downhill. He thought they were going to get divorced, and then the accident happened, and there you go. It's amazing what happens when a guy leads, takes charge, and not in an asshole kind of way. Woman, you're going to come with me and grab her hair like a caveman. No, it's not like that. But women respect strength. So there you go, and I'm really happy for you. So good for you, man. I'm glad for your family. And, of course, your ex from back in the day kicked you to the curb. Frankly, did you a favor, I might add. Brenda did you a favor. But now she's like a lot of these types that now in her 40s as well, single, alone, making out like has the greatest life. I guarantee you she does not. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a good story to share, email me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. This also goes for any interesting articles you may find, Reddit stories, short stories, long stories. Send them my way. If it's the type of material I cover, I can use it all. Because the more you send stuff in, guys, it makes my job easier, and I can crank out more videos. And if it definitely works for the channel, I'll certainly cover it. But give me time, because I have a massive backlog, and I can only do as much as I can. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.